Hello, hello. Let's knock through some multiple choice questions on our planning, scope, and timing. Jumping right in, which of the following procedures would a CPA most likely perform in the planning phase of a financial statement audit? All right, as we do with most questions, we think which phase of the audit, which stage of the audit are we in? Well, obviously it's a little given away because we are in this lesson, but when you're taking the exam, these will be all mixed up together. So yes, we see planning phase, and also we see it's an audit, right? That may be important. It may not be an audit, and then also is it an issuer or non-issuer? These are just three criteria we should always identify because they may be important. If it's an audit versus a review, there are different actions we take, different testing procedures we take, different levels of severity, and then also what phase are we in? That's going to determine what we do in each phase, right? So in this one, we're asking, what are we doing in the planning phase? So right away, I'm gonna just go to letter D because I love jumping around. I don't like going in order. That's just me. Recalculate the prior year's accruals and deferrals. So yes, we would do this during an audit. However, well, this is not done during planning. You don't do hardcore math and testing and all of that, right? This would be done during the testing phase, not during the planning phase. Similarly here, right? Perform cutoff tests, and I'm going to spoil it, right? Inquiries of the client's lawyer. All of these, sure, they're done during an audit, but they are not done during the planning phase. However, what we will do during the planning phase is compare financial information with non-financial operating data, also known as analytical procedures, also known as what we would do in the planning phase. And for your reference, right here, the following items are completed during the planning stage. We're going to do analytical procedures, enhance the understanding of the client's business. So even though we are doing a little bit of math here, right, we're doing a little bit of comparing data with financial data with non-financial data. It's just to get an understanding of the business, right? Is the business in an uptrend? Is it in a downtrend? How are we doing? What's going on? Getting an overall view of it. So again, not significant testing. Two approaches here. You could just memorize what's done in the planning phase. You can also do process of elimination to see what activities here are done in other phases. Awesome there. Let's move along. High energy. Let's keep it going. We've got another question. During planning, an auditor of a non-issuer should communicate which of the following to those charged with governance of an entity. All right. Now you'll see so many multiple choice questions, right? Can be fitting into different lessons, right? This question could be in the communication lesson, and many of those could be in this lesson. That's just the nature of it, right? You're going to communicate in the planning phase, and you're going to plan. You're going to communicate when planning, right? So like you're going to see that there's a lot of overlap, and that's fine. Overall, like this is one engagement. So I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, he's asking me a question that has to do with communication and planning. Oh, that's just kind of how this works. So what are we going to do and communicate to those charged with governance at an entity? Are we going to communicate all audit findings? Well, I'm going to say no. That sounds aggressive. Every single audit finding is not important. They don't have time for that. So whether, you might have immaterial audit findings, which for sure you're not going to communicate, but you want to communicate overall if the financial statements are materially misstated, right? You want to talk about that. So you're not going to communicate all audit findings. Again, we could do process of elimination, or we could always just go to our lessons, reference what we saw here, right? So this is what we saw in our lessons during the planning stage. We should communicate with those charged with governance. Here, take a read if you want to spoil it. If not, we can keep going. But auditor responsible for forming and expressing an opinion. This is what you're going to communicate during the planning stage. That the auditor does not relieve management with their responsibilities for fair presentation of financial statements. So just items that you are going to communicate during that planning stage. So again, process of elimination, as well as just knowing what we're going to communicate. We're not in the nitty gritty of the testing yet. So also another reason, right? All audit findings. Well, in planning, you don't have all audit findings. So another reason there. The auditor will express an opinion on the effectiveness of internal controls over. Okay, right away, I'm thinking no. This is not happening. This is not an integrated audit. This is a normal audit. So this is not something that will happen. That is wrong because of the type of engagement they're referring to, which is an integrated audit. Next up, the audit does not relieve management of its responsibilities for the financial statements. I'm going to agree with that there because, well, it makes sense, right? we're going to try to tell, not try, we're going to tell management, hey, yeah, you still have a responsibility to make sure that the financial statements are fairly presented and they are correct materially. That's a During planning is a great time to communicate that. And then what about the auditor is responsible for preparing for financial statements? No, the auditor does not prepare financial statements. Management and the client does. The auditor just audits them. Remember, the management prepares the financial statements under GAAP. The auditor audits under GAS. There we go. That is our answer. Final answer, letter C. Good there. Let's keep plugging along. In developing an overall audit strategy, the auditor should consider what? Well, lots of points to consider, and right here, right, we've got another reference to what we saw in our lessons. Be familiar, do a little memorizing. It will only help you. So, in developing an overall audit strategy, what should the auditor consider? So, again, this is in the planning stage because we're developing an overall audit strategy. First step, memorize that the overall audit strategy is done during planning. So, are we going to consider findings from substantive tests? No, because we're still in planning and substantive tests have not been done. So by default, this could not be possible. What about preliminary evaluations? Okay, that's fair, right? Preliminary evaluations, you're not doing significant testing, but like we said, you could do analytical procedures. You could kind of just take a look vaguely at different pieces of information, kind of get an idea of how things are looking. So I would keep this on the table for sure. What about whether the inquiry of the client's attorney identifies any litigation, claims, or assessments not disclosed in the financial statements? Well, this is done during testing, right? Simply put a lot of these questions, think, what stage of the audit are we in? What type of engagement are we in? Who are we? Are the auditor the client? Just take a step back. And a lot of these questions in multiple lessons can be answered just by kind of just eliminating the answers that just don't make sense. So this is done during testing. We are still in planning, and we know that because we're developing the overall audit strategy, which is done during the planning stage. Lastly, whether the allowance for sampling risk exceeds, okay, again, this is something that's done during testing, right? During the actual audit, we're still in planning, so we are going to be left with letter B as our final answer there, right? Preliminary evaluations of these items. That's what we will consider. And again, just for reference, right, what is completed during the planning stage, preliminary evaluations, you can just see it is just straight here. So again, two-pronged approach, you can memorize and you can process of eliminate. So I would recommend doing both, good combination, never gonna hurt. All right, the users of a company's set of financial statements would be who? So what are we doing this for? What's the whole point of this? Well, financial statements, what's the point of issuing financial statements? It's so that certain individuals and certain groups can use them. And what's their purpose for doing so? Well, the shareholders want to know how well the company's doing, if they should invest more money, and creditors want to know how well the company's doing because that will let them know if they should lend the company more money or if maybe they're at risk of going to default. So here I am going to say both. And this is something you likely see in FAR, possibly VEC, see throughout the whole test, right? Think about the big picture. Who is going to use the financial statements that are going to creditors, shareholders, and there are many others, right? Banks, regulatory agencies. There are so many possibilities of who would use financial statements, but by default, and the most common ones are going to be shareholders and creditors. Another great lesson here. Awesome. Running through these multiple choice questions. Keep working hard. You got this. I believe in you. I've got faith. If I could do it, you could do it. Keep working hard, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.